reporters from Asheville and
From the newsroom to the nursery.
We're juggling a demanding career on live TV with the demands of motherhood.
I'm Katie.
And I'm Karen.
They are AnchorMoms.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Anchor Moms. So glad you're joining us today. Hope everyone is doing well, back in the swing of things.
Woo!
Fall is almost upon us here.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
it is crazy. The leaves are sort of changing. Did you notice that?
Mm-hmm.
Even the meteorologist and I this morning, she was saying how every year people are like, the leaves are changing earlier. And she's like, no, this year, like legit they are.
Oh.
And I was like, okay, let's break out the PSL.
You're all about it.
My theory. Do you remember my theory that I've mentioned several times on the podcast?
I feel like there's like a meme dedicated to this.
Well, no, my theory is like, don't postpone joy because I could die tomorrow having never
had another pumpkin spice latte.
Right. Like, why would I wait to a certain date or a time when like people say that it's like finally okay to listen to Christmas music or like drink a pumpkin spice latte or put on my fall decorations?
But I do feel
just do
like
it now.
I saw like that exact thing in a meme.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I think maybe they stole
should've
it.
sent
Did
it
they
to
steal
you.
it from me?
Probably.
Be making some money off my
You should
my
be
idea
like,
here.
yeah, you're like basically an influencer. You just need to put it out there first.
Right. I probably did. They probably listened to this podcast and
They
stole it
did.
from me.
Yes. That's absolutely what happened. Those darn influencers stealing all of our content.
Well, you're welcome, influencers, wherever you are. So I was in my influencer life, I was perusing Instagram this week, and I saw this Instagrammer posting about something that she saw in 17 magazine like 30 years ago, but she still like it was like those like
is
tips and
this
tricks.
Nicole somebody?
I don't know. I can't remember.
Okay.
You're really putting me on the spot.
Sorry.
I don't know, maybe, but she was
I
saying,
feel like I saw the same thing.
I can't remember what it was, but it was like, I think it was something about like the way you wash your hair, and she's been doing it all these years, and like she's just like looking at like she's been doing it without even thinking about it, and now she's sort of wondering about the validity of it. And I thought to myself, oh yeah, I have all sorts of things that you read in your teeny bopper. I think 17 is still around, by the way. I looked it up because I was like, does
really?
17 still publish? They have an Instagram page. All those teeny bopper magazines that, it was like Bible, right? I was thinking about some of the things I do. I heat up my eyelash curler, and this works. I don't care who you are. Don't even tell me it doesn't. I heat up my eyelash curler with my hair dryer before I put on my mascara because it's like a curling iron for your eyelashes every time. Even on vacation, don't leave the house without doing it. Read it in 17 when I was like,
I don't
15.
own an eyelash curler.
That doesn't surprise me.
So I can't chime in on this one. But what's the next one?
I'm going to get you for your birthday's coming up. Let me jot this down. I'm getting you
eyelash curler.
It's going to change your life.
I take that back. I might have one, but it's just like buried in like a box in my bathroom with other like makeup that I probably purchased, 20 years ago that I like never used.
Karen.
I should get it out. I don't know what else is in there. I'll get out said box and like let you know what else.
Get that eyelash curler. Life changer. In fact, if I were on a deserted island and someone said that you could only take one piece of whatever's in my makeup bag, one beauty product, eyelash curler.
Without the mascara?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
So show.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you curl before you mascara?
Yeah. Otherwise, you're like, it's just bad for your eyelashes,
Okay. Okay. I'll work on this. I'll work on it. It's my assignment for the week.
I mean, eyelash. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I'll give it a go.
Yeah, do it. Some of the other things that I read in my teeny bopper magazines is that you wash your hair twice. Like I use, now that I'm sophisticated, I use like a scrub and then a shampoo. But the advice was basically just to like the first shampoo like gets like some of the dirt out, and like the second shampoo is, like the full cleansing of your hair. It's probably killing my hair. Been doing it forever. What
knows?
about, do you remember reading Cosmo, and it would talk to you about dressing for day to night? Like what you could wear to the office that like after work would be.
You could like throw on this one other accessory and you're ready to go to the club.
And you'd be so hot at the bar later on. No, I don't think that's that never has happened to me.
I will say.
Oh,
In my 20s,
Okay.
I would go straight from work to out with friends.
Were you concerned about outfits that you thought would also look good?
No, I would bring a change of clothes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
You missed the memo on that.
I wasn't like trying to use the same outfit. Because I mean, I feel like back then, I
didn't have enough money to have like, I feel like add an extra accessory, like put a jacket, take a jacket off. Like I was like, I have a work outfit.
I had like my 3 sundresses that I wore every night out with friends. And then I had like my 2 suits for work, mix and match with some like staples. Yeah. Like I just changed.
I do remember back in the day, you know, at your first TV station, you're like 22 and everybody is 22. And you would you'd wrap up like the 11 p.m. newscast and then you would all go out and then like you'd have to go back to like work the next day, like still slightly inebriated from the night before.
You know, my first station, you know this, I think, taped the newscast.
What? No.
So, like, if it was going to air at 6 o'clock.
So you never did live shots?
Never did live shots.
Wow.
Never did a live show. Like, you would sit down, the anchors would sit down, and you would start taping. And somebody, you know, as you said, everyone is, like, legitimately 22, straight out of school. Somebody would inevitably mess up.
And then you have to redo it?
Let's start over. But it was funny because we would start recording, let's say at like 3:30 or 4. I don't remember, 5. I don't know.
For the 6 o'clock news.
For the 6 o'clock news, because like they would anticipate, the production team, I think it's like one guy, would anticipate that people would mess up. And so there would be like a cutoff time where he'd be like, okay, at this point, it's like 5:20 and we have to like record the half-hour news and then we need 5 minutes for the guy to run the tape. It was like a literal tape, like run the tape to the thing and like get it like hooked up so that we could run it at 6 p.m. So like no more mess ups, guys. Like this, so, like now we got to go.
Now, unless you're in TV news, this isn't going to mean anything to you. Was it live to tape? Like you couldn't just like, okay, the reporter messed up. Like, he's going to redo it and edit that part in, or it was like live to tape?
We could, but they would rather it just be one fell swoop.
Wow. That's a lot of pressure. So live to tape is like you just go straight through. You pretend like it's live even though it's taped. So there's no stopping, starting, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I just am learning so much about your early TV news days.
The early days at WDNN in old Georgia. Yeah.
Is it still around, that station?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Neither is mine. My station shut down a couple years ago. My first station.
So I just have to say this real quick. Okay. Back to your 17 Cosmo magazine days.
Tips.
I mean, I'm just going to admit this. I was not reading those articles. I was literally only buying the magazines and cutting out Justin Timberlake pictures. Like that's what I was doing. I was just looking for NSYNC material. I was not reading the articles.
What were you like hanging it on your wall or what was happening?
I would like make scrapbooks. I don't know. I was obsessed. Yeah. I don't remember. I like look back on high school pictures. I'm like, guys, I have like a pretty solid friend group, or I thought was solid from high school. Guys, no one told me to pluck my eyebrows.
That's how it is in high school.
My haircut was terrible. Like I was not using an eyelash curler, obviously, since I'm still not. But like none of the things, like I didn't wear makeup. Like I wasn't trendy. I was just thinking about my marriage to Justin Timberlake. It's the only thing I was concentrating on.
Okay.
But like now here we are. You're fashionable, trendy, like have great makeup and beauty tips. And here I am like still on the struggle bus. Like, do we have to get rid of our skinny jeans?
No, that's not true. That's not true.
It is. I mean, my mom has said several times. Like,
your mom said?
My mom has said, like, Karen, it's so funny to me that you went into a career where you have to be on TV. Like, you don't like makeup. Sure. Like, you're not like a fashionable, like,
thanks, Mom.
person.
Appreciate it.
I mean, she's not wrong, but it is funny. Yeah. Anyway, I love that you've like held on to these little things for all these years.
I mean,
I feel like there's probably a lot of people who are in your boat.
Yeah. I mean, if you're sitting at home watching or listening to this, please send us a message and tell us what are some of those weird things. Yeah. I mean, I'm 41 and this is something I read in 17 magazine when I was, I'm not kidding, like 15.
I think more about those things, it's like stages of life. I think more about those things that my parents told me that I'm like, that was not true. What, like,
Give me an example.
Like, you can't go outside when your hair's wet or you catch a cold.
Oh.
Like those types of things that my parents, I feel like, and I don't know, maybe they believe them or that was like the word on the street back then. But I'm like, I'm not telling my kid that. Like, I don't think that's true. You know, that's what I think about, like the things growing up that I heard that now as a mom, I'm like, oh, I don't.
I do tell River that if you watch, if you have too much screen time, your brain melts. And she has now told other kids this, like kids who are older and no, that's not true. And she will argue it to the death. Like I'll overhear her arguing it to the
She's
death.
Like, no, my mom told me this is
like
this is
Mom,
legit.
Tell them. Susie said it's not true, but you need to tell her. And I'm like,
explain about the brain melting.
Do I need to? Is there like a time in which I need to say like
that actually is not true?
That's not true. Although it might kind of be true. But I mean, I literally tell her I can see it, like her brain matter is coming out of her ears. Like that's how far.
Wow.
That's how
you
far
like
I take
really
it.
Taking it all the way. Okay, I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, like it's almost like figuratively.
She'll figure it out before she's a mom. Okay.
Well, that's good. Yeah. Like I don't want her to be
Yeah.
telling my grandkids that their brains are melting.
You're like, actually, granddaughter, I lied to your mom.
Yeah, right.
That would be bad. Not true.
Okay. Speaking of parenthood,
this thing we're doing
a general transition here. This was a big talker.
Oh my gosh.
The article that I attached here that we're going to talk about is it's actually just the advisory that the U.S. Surgeon General issued. But there are many news articles if you Google
in response to this.
In response to this. But I just attached the legit. It's basically like a press release. So the U.S. Surgeon General issued an advisory on the mental health and well-being of parents. He's quoted as saying, parents have a profound impact on the health of our children and the health of society, yet parents and caregivers today face tremendous pressures from familiar stressors, such as worrying about their kids' health and safety and financial concerns, to brain melting, new challenges like navigating technology and social media. And it goes on to say that basically parents who struggle with their mental health and have anxiety, their kids are more likely to struggle with these things as well. This has been, I had sent Karen the email that, hey, I wanted to talk about this. And you said, yeah, I was going to say that like this.
It's been a big
talker. Trumps like basically anything that's come out in the parenting world, I would say in the past couple of weeks. 33% of parents experience high levels of stress in the past month. The tremendous pressures listed here. Kids' health and safety, financial concerns, we talked about this, social media, and an epidemic of loneliness for parents. Yeah.
I see all of this. Yeah, I think, the basis for this kind of is a call for a shift in culture. I think this is why this is a big deal, is because this is not some influencer, this is not some pediatrician or somebody who's like, hey, listen, this is a big deal. This is the U.S. Surgeon General saying, okay, we're not just complaining here. This is a legit crisis, health crisis. I think that says a lot more than, I mean, obviously these are all things that we all know as working parents or as parents in general. So none of this is shocking, but I think the reason it's such a talker is because it feels like for perhaps the first time, it's coming to a level where this is an important person saying this and saying this is a mental health crisis. Like I'm labeling it as such. It talks in the advisory a little bit about ways to reduce stress, which, okay, great to throw those tips out there. But when I read something like that, I'm like, thanks, but no. It's like a drop in the bucket compared to what needs to happen, right? I mean, we can all do more things to help us not be as stressed out, but nothing's going to really fix the problem unless there is real change in our society and with our systems and in how our culture handles parents, especially working parents.
Yeah, no, I agree. I posted about this on my Instagram page last week, and it's so funny. one mom wrote to me, I had said 33% of parents experience anxiety, and she wrote only 33%. Like that can't be right. And I tend to agree. I think depending on where you are in life, there's probably varying degrees of that anxiety. But I did get one poster who was like, suck it up. All you need is love. Parents, basically sort of like brushing it off. And I was like, yeah, dude, sorry. Like love goes a long way. But there's, really we talk about certain avenues of this on the podcast, every single podcast. We need better childcare, right? Like more affordable childcare. We need better support in the workplace. We need federal maternity leave and paternity leave. Like these are all of the things that sort of compound to make life really difficult as a parent. If in 2024 raising kids.
Right. And I think one of the reasons that it is so jarring is because we see the way it's done in other cultures and other countries, right? We see other places doing so much better. And then we look at us, which is the US, like you'd think we'd be on top of this. I think that's one of the hard things for me to swallow is, you see countries with 16 months of paid maternity leave and, better systems in place, whether it's healthcare or childcare or public schools, whatever it is, it just feels like it's so much easier. Not to say other countries are perfect and they don't have their own flaws as well. But when we're talking specifically about parenting, I just feel like the US has just really dropped the ball on how they support parents. And other countries have figured it out much better. And I don't know why we're still lagging.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think so. Maybe this is a first step. If the U.S. Surgeon General is stepping up and issuing a health advisory on it, it does feel like it's falling on deaf ears. Yeah.
I mean, I will say that I think, like you said, I don't think anything's going to change tomorrow, but I think at least we're seeing signs that people are noticing what a big problem this is. So hopefully down the road, there will be some progression toward real change. Switching gears, I have a moms. This is something that we like to share, a little product or tip or something.
Is it an eyelash curler?
Will help other moms. It is not an eyelash curler. In fact, it is.
It's the opposite of an eyelash curler. It's an eyelash straightener. What?
No.
Oh.
You're gonna maybe kick me off the podcast for this one.
Well.
It's pretty bad. But listen, okay. If you are like me and are getting old and feel like you're in your 70s. So I'm a runner and I have very calloused heels.
Oh my gosh. Okay, where are we going with this?
Okay, so I don't know if other people have this, if it's my age or because I run a lot. I don't know. I'm going to blame it on the running because that sounds cooler than just getting old. But I have my heels get very calloused and crack. Very painful. Not good. A coworker suggested these gel heel protectors.
Okay.
Katie is dying right now.
Nope. I'm good.
Listen, you put some lotion on your feet and put it's like a little booty kind of thing, but it's silicone. And you put it on and it keeps the moisture on your foot.
Whilst you're running or
No. At night. When you're sleeping.
Okay.
Yeah. And it is like a new pair of feet. The next day you wake up, those puppies are good to go.
Who makes it?
I don't know. It's on Amazon, $9.99 for 2 pair. Gel heel protectors.
Okay.
You can use whatever to put on your feet. The coworker said she uses a heel balm. You can put on.
Okay.
Katie's like, this is getting worse, Karen.
Okay.
And then you put them on overnight. And do you know, speaking of things that your parents told you, my mom always said, I guess this is maybe a hereditary thing because my mom always says, oh yeah, we all have bad feet in this family. Oh. My grandmother used to put lotion on her feet and then put socks on at night.
I will do that. I actually don't do this, but I know of people who will put lotion on their hands and then put gloves on. They
overnight?
make special gloves. Yeah. For dry hands, dry cuticles.
Yeah. So same thing really, which seems cooler than feet. But anyway, but I cannot sleep in socks. I get too hot. Anyway, so this came up in my life, and I feel like it's a great tool to help your feet be healthier. So here we are.
Okay.
Heel
We are heading
protectors.
into fall, into winter, dry, cracked feet. Listen, it's good. There might be a lot of people out there who need this. I don't know.
Katie's dying.
Yeah, it's good.
Okay. She's not going to let me do mums anymore, guys. She's
No,
like, no more old people
Keep
products,
doing it.
Karen.
Keep
Let's
doing
get back
it.
to like the trendy makeup
I love
tips.
it. I love it.
Okay, this next article is from Deseret News. Perspective, what happens when every aspect of parenting is a choice? This is a story about a mom who left her kid with the grandparents, like basically kind of handed over custody almost of her kid to her parents to pursue this big political career. She went off and traveled around the world and did all these things. So the author talks about this story of this mom who basically handed her child off so she could do wonderful things with her career and wasn't really a good mom. And then another story about a parent who never really wanted kids in the first place and just gets into a relationship and anyway, a job situation and ends up having a kid, and how the two stories are kind of parallel but not. And the author talks a lot about how it leads you to the discussion of every bit of parenting is a choice. It's a choice whether to have kids. It's a choice what to do with them, how much you want to parent them, all of these things. And it's just turned into this really long succession of choices when you are a parent and how you want to raise your child and what you want to do, and how it's just so different than it was way back when it felt like everybody just had a kid and that was it, and you didn't have nearly as many choices and decisions to make along the way.
Right. It talks about how years ago, and not even really that long ago, really.
Right.
Certainly for our parents, I would say, having kids used to be an obvious choice for most humans between like the societal pressure and natural instinct. Those two would combine, and most people
would just do it.
It was just a foregone conclusion that you would have kids. And this author kind of, it's not like she's like pro
one way or the
other. I think she is just pointing out that you know, and like it is a little bit of a burden, right? Like if to have kids, not to have kids. I mean, that's like a big question in a lot of people's, lives. And she talks about how because of this, like some people who probably should have had kids, like don't have kids.
Right.
And then some people who should have never had kids don't have kids or vice versa. So in some ways it leads to good things, right? And sometimes it leads to bad things. This dad in this article acknowledges that he was very career focused, but in his 40s, he sort of realized like,
it doesn't matter.
Okay, it's just like my career is what it is. His partner really wanted to have a kid. It doesn't say whether he, is successful at his career or not. So you don't know like what was it like, okay, I've met that threshold and we can have kids.
I think you just
or
realized that it probably wasn't going to like.
It wasn't going to be what it is?
Affect things as much with his career.
I couldn't, I was like trying to read between the lines, but the article like really never says. It's kind of like left up to you to
determine,
figure that out. Yeah. And then he talks about, so obviously he loves his kid and he talks about, he has all the common emotions, by the way, that every single parent goes through, like joy, happiness, frustration, anger, whatever. But at the end of the day, he's sort of regretful that he had a kid, right? He doesn't he loves his kid, but he doesn't love parenthood. But this was like the kicker for me. And I'm not saying that there aren't people who legit regret having kids. His kid, 18 months old. This is where I'm like, listen, if you've had like an 18-month-old.
Give it a minute. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like there's just.
It'd be interesting to follow up with that guy in like 10 years.
Yeah. There's just so much more. And I say this as somebody who only has a 6-year-old.
Right.
There's just, as you know, if you are a parent, I mean, you can run all of the emotions in one day. Like you can regret having kids and love the fact that you have a kid all in a single hour, depending on like what's happening in your life, So yeah, like I'm just, like that seems awfully early. And I suppose some people would say like, listen, I know myself and I know my mind and like, yeah, this is how I feel. But 18 months, that's young and that's a particularly, in my opinion,
Well,
tricky age.
and I think the stories that the author is illustrating here are just very interesting examples, right? And then you have this other mom who had a baby, and even though she's off gallivanting the world, pushing for like a better society, she hasn't done like some of the things she's pushing for, better parenting, schooling, things like that. She's not doing for her own child. That one's a tough one for me because I feel like, you'll sometimes hear people say like, oh, so your other people are raising your child for you. Like you decided to have kids, but then you kept working. And so you're relying on the nanny or daycares to raise your children, which always, of course, hurts. But it is just when you go back and look at it and think back, there are so many decisions that you have to make when you're parenting. And I think, again, years ago, most moms didn't work, right? And it was just, I don't know, it felt like there was less paths to go down. And now it's like, whew,
maybe it was less complicated because you didn't have to like ponder the idea of having kids. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's definitely, I mean, it is true. And like, then we talk about, like family planning, like, okay, you're going to have a kid, but now you can decide like when or how you're going to have a kid. If, you're using certain fertility measures, you can decide if you're going to have like a boy or a girl. Like it is kind of wild to think about all of the decisions. And some people, I think it might be a double-edged sword because some people would say like, isn't this great? Like this is the time to do it. This is the time. Like what a time to be alive where you can, pursue your career and decide in your 40s that you're going to have a kid.
Yeah.
So, all right. Our third article comes from people.com and it's new mom refuses to change baby name for partner's sister. This story, I saw this written up a couple of different places and I am so
bizarre.
What is happening? So this is a woman who posted to Reddit. She's a new mom. She says she's refusing to change her baby's name even after her partner's sister requested she be able to use it. The sister wants to use it instead. Her son's name is Liam Alexander. Her sister's partner, by the way, or her partner's sister has 2 kids, 2 boys, comes to visit her in the hospital and says, oh my gosh, I have loved the name Liam forever. Do you mind changing it? Like, so the mom says, nope, no thanks. Thinks that it's like the issue is dead in the water. And then the sister brings it up again. And I think the mom is kind of like, listen, you can still use that name in the future if you would like, but like, I'm not going to, I'm not going to change my kid's name. I'm not going to do it. And this story blows my mind.
Well, and she mentions in here, which I think is a valid thing to point out, there was never a discussion like, you're pregnant for, 9 months. There was never a time when the sister came to her and was like, hey, listen, we might have another kid. We're thinking of, I really love this name. Would you mind to steer clear of this?
Well, maybe they didn't talk about names.
Well, right. But I'm just saying, like, the sister knew this woman was pregnant.
Oh, you think she should have
like
said,
come to her and said, hey, just throwing it out there. Is this one of your name ideas? And like, would be upset if you used it.
Wait,
there needs to be some communication.
But do people do that?
Yes.
Like you've gone to people and been like, I'm going to use the name Sam.
No, but we had a lot of conversations with family members. A lot of conversations. Like one cousin, Sam's middle name is this cousin's name. And he was, I think, recently married when we had him. And we said, is it okay if we use this name? Because it's your name. And like, do you want to use it for one of your kids? I know you're probably planning on having kids. Like, is that okay?
Yeah.
So I think if this woman was so, serious about this name and really did not want anyone else in the family to use it, she should have said something.
Well,
and then the mom can either say, okay, let me think about that. Or maybe there's another name we're thinking of. Or at least, like, once you name the child and the child is there and you're in the hospital and it's done, no, it's too late. I'm sorry. It's too late.
I mean, I guess I, like, just even disagree with, like, the idea of, like, having to run your name past people. Like, or, you know what I mean? Or
well, I think she could have just said, like, hey, just so you know.
Liam is my favorite name. And I just don't think it would even, like, occur to me to be like, take that off the table. Yeah. I'm kind of, I guess I'm like one of those people that I'm like, this is what I would say to the sister. And I mean, I think the mom kind of said this, although who knows if this would really hold true, because I do think people are weird about names. If I like that name, I'd go ahead and use it. And I wouldn't care whether or not
the mom says, like,
nephew,
if you want it, use it.
Yeah. Like a name is, the other thing is like that kid is going to grow up and have like friends and family elsewhere and go to school somewhere. And like, not everybody is always going to be like, but you're like, it's not like everywhere you go, they're going to be like, well, you have a cousin named Karen. So we can't name, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, there's several instances in my family and Gregory's family where cousins' kids, so I guess second cousins have the same name.
Yeah.
And it's like not a big deal at all.
Yeah.
We see, most like relatives at that stage, you see once or twice a year. If that, it's not a big deal.
I guess I'm just of the opinion that like you should be able to name your kid whatever you want. This is a free country and you can name your kid whatever you want. And it doesn't matter. Like I wouldn't worry so much about offending so-and-so. Like,
and especially the fact that she's asking her multiple times after the child is here and named.
Yeah. Yeah. The whole thing is weird. It's rude, right?
Yeah,
it's rude. Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah.
And like I would say, I mean, we have one friend who doesn't ever reveal the name of their kid until they give birth. And like, I don't blame them because I do think you sort of like poison the well once you put it out there. So listen, that's your baby and your kid and you
name it what you want.
Exactly.
Yeah. Do you have a win for us?
It's a win. It's win time. Yes, I do have a win. All right. So we just wrapped up summer. And I was going to do this. I was going to do an Instagram post on summer, like all of our pictures, just a couple of like highlights from the summer. And then I just like never got around to it. But I was looking at pictures last night. And we were all at the pool yesterday, Karen and I and our kids. And like, we just had we took so many great trips and we had so many great pool days and lake days. And I am like a little sad to see summer go, even though this is supposed to be a win. And I'm happy to see fall come.
You do love fall.
I do love fall. Bring out the pumpkin spice. But yeah, like I just am really thankful that we had such a great summer.
Yes. Yes. It's funny. And I'm sure many listeners can appreciate this position. As a working mom, you're both like, summer's the best. There's so many great things about it. But then you're also like, for me in particular, like, childcare is such a real struggle.
Yeah.
And I was saying to my mom, like, I'm so glad the kids are finally back in school. And it's, I don't have to worry about as much childcare,
Yeah.
And she was like, really? And she's like, I guess because I wasn't working, I was always so sad to see summer go because that meant that I had to like give you back to school and like I didn't get as much time with you guys. And it was I just had never really thought of it. And I was like, you're right. And also like, you're not wrong. There's some parts of summer that are really sad to say goodbye to because there is that sense of freedom. You don't have to go to bed as early. There's just kind of a little feeling of like, the whole 12 weeks is you're on holiday.
Absolutely. And I'll just tell you, now River officially back in the swing of things this week. As we're recording this, it's a Monday. Like River starts soccer practice this evening.
Just so you know, it's actually Tuesday.
Is it Tuesday? Oh, you know why? Yesterday. Okay.
Well,
Yes. It's Tuesday. As we're recording this, it's Tuesday. Actually, I was confused even on the anchor desk all day today. We're recording this the week of Labor Day, so it's like
yesterday was a holiday.
Yeah, we don't even though we worked. I worked on Monday. So anyway, mom brain. But yeah, so like this week kicks off, like River's soccer is back in full swing. Her church activities are back in full swing. Her gymnastics is back in full swing. And I did have a like Karen Zach-like mom moment where I was like, because I have to go to bed. Like Brian is coaching her soccer. Like, so, River, he's like, and I'll just take River, like, we'll go to like, just dinner, like we'll do like Chick-fil-A or something after soccer practice. And I thought to myself, so I'll see River like after school for an hour or two today. But then, I won't see her. And I had a moment of like, and then I thought about, like gymnastics on Thursday. I had a moment where I was like, oh man, I am like, school is back in session and and the activity, we're in full swing. We're in fall right now. And which is fun. I love seeing her participate in all this stuff, but
you get less time with her.
I get less time with her and like time is fleeting. And it is nice to be like, you know what? You don't have to take a bath tonight. Like,
Yeah.
you can go to bed late. Like, sure, like, play an extra 30 minutes, like, do whatever you want. Don't brush your hair today. Don't brush your teeth until noon. It's just nice, So it was just, honestly, it was like our first real
So
summer.
this is
like,
actually kind of turning into a fail.
I know,
Summer's now
right?
over, yeah.
But it was, it's
it was
nice
a win
to
that it was a nice
reflect.
summer.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah,
nice to reflect and be like, that was, it's awesome. But also, I
Yeah.
love the naps now, but River is in school. So that's a mixed bag. Mixed bag.
Well, thanks so much for listening. We hope everyone has a great one, and we'll see you right here next time.
Bye, guys. Anchor Moms is a Sinclair podcast produced out of WLOS in Asheville. We're your hosts, Katie Killen and Karen Zakalek. Anchor Moms is edited by Matthew Yates.
For more information on the topics discussed in this episode and to stay up to date on future episodes, follow us on Instagram @AnchorMoms.
You can follow Anchor Moms on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Know a parent who could benefit from this week's Anchor Moms episode? Your recommendations help our show to grow, so spread the word.